talking about getting refugees back. But there's no water, no electricity, no work. There's nothing to go home to.
So we should focus on basic infrastructure.
Yeah.
Juno 537, London Centre. Climb and maintain flight level 130, route direct to Ashwood Airfield.
Come on.
So you want to come see the flight deck?
Can I, Mum?
Juno 537, London Centre, radio check. Juno 537, climb and maintain flight level 130. Adjust your altitude, Juno 537.
Hey, open up, come on!
Juno 537, London Centre, climb immediately. Repeat immediately to flight level 130.
Hey, kiddo. Where is she?
Juno 537, London Centre. Adjust your altitude, Juno. Climb immediately. Repeat immediately to flight level 1.
Dr. Alexander? Yes, I'm Jess Fisher, AIB.
Hi. So, who was on it?
A couple of pilots, Alex Vatanen and Rowan Cole. Passengers were Miriam Heller, head of a charity, the Global Crisis Committee. Her son, Ezra, along for the ride, 11 years old. And Jonathan Kraft.
The Jonathan Kraft. As in ex-US Ambassador Jonathan Kraft. He was on board.
Hi, this is Matt. I can't get to the phone. Please leave a message.
Matt, can you give me a call? As soon as you get this. Love you.
The coroner's on her way.
Priority is body recovery.
Which is for us at the Lyle and the police to coordinate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have all the bodies been accounted for?
Not all. The captain is still in the left seat, and there was a second non-flying pilot hitching a lift back from Amsterdam, the originating airport. The passengers are harder to identify. There was a child on board, 11-year-old Ezra Heller. We haven't yet identified his body.
Both the adult passengers were public figures. Miriam Heller was the public face of an NGO, which is why they were in Amsterdam for a conference. And Jonathan Kraft, obviously, so we need to rule out foul play.
So, body recovery. Minimum recoverable tissue is what? In the past, we've worked on 5mm cubes and up.
New guidelines are to recover everything we can.
Of course. You done?
Can I just ask that we restrict the site to UK personnel only? I don't want a tug-of-war over bodies. Thank you.
Hey.
Hey, the embassy called. What's happening?
Matt.
Jonathan didn't make it.
No. I'm so sorry.
He was on a target list. He's been getting terrorist threats from fascist groups in America. Do the police know?
They'll be following that up.
Not if they don't know, and they won't know unless somebody tells them. I'll come down.
Maybe wait. They're restricting access at the moment.
What about his family?
I told the embassy I'd call Louise. She's in Washington. Their son, Charlie's at Caltech.
I love you.
I better go. Make that call.
Significant damage to his head and neck from the collapsing roof.
I'll say.
His hands are still on the control yoke, too.
Body's relatively intact.
Miraculously.
No, I think it's because of the angle of impact. Plane came down, I think, nose pointing up. The tail hit the ground first.
Looks like a straight fuel fire.
First impressions?
Oh, can you take a look, Jack, see what you think?
Sure.
Finish.
Finish?
No, as in he was a Finn. It's on the manifest.
Oh. phone.
Mr. Heller. Mr. Heller? No, I know, I understand, but it's a restricted area. I know it's hard, but now you're here. Let's go and talk over here. Okay?
Was he thrown clear, or did he move himself?
Open comminuted fractures with a traumatic amputation of the right leg below the knee. No blood trail, so I would suggest he was thrown clear.
Hey, Jess, do you know if any of your AAIV people approached the site from this direction?
Not to my knowledge. No, we all came in from over there.
What about emergency services personnel?
They came from the west, same as us.
You sure no one came in this way?
Why are you asking?
Hey, where are you?
I edge of the woods by the nose. Listen, someone's accessed the site from the east, the woodland there. Can you look into it, please?
Yeah, I'll check with the first responders, yeah.
Thank you.
We've got the cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder. They're still in the tail section.
Was a work thing for Miriam. I wasn't invited.
But Ezra was.
We got friends in Amsterdam. His best friend, Noor, he sent a cheeky email to Jonathan Kraft to ask if he could hitch a ride over. He's really nice about it. Ezra called me from the plane when it was in trouble.
Okay.
He wanted me to help them.
Michael, we need to know if it was a deliberate act. Did Ezra say anything about the plane? About what was happening?
That Miriam was hurt and they couldn't get through a door.
A door to the flight deck? There was another pilot on the plane, a non-flying pilot. Did Ezra mention him? Was he on the flight deck?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Is that the black box? It's orange. Jess? Paramedic! I think it's the boy.
We need a hand team over here right away, please.
Ezra? Ezra, it's gonna be alright.
There's some fire service down here!
We need cutters. I think it's the boy. Talk to him.
Ezra,
Jess, how we do?
On the way, Jack. Now wait, on the way.
we're gonna get you out of here.
Fire down here!
Jess, I want to get in here.
No, Jack, wait, they're almost here.
No, I'm not waiting. Give me something.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not waiting.
We get fire in!
Let them do their job.
11 years of age, pulse tachycardic at 140,
Ezra? He's not responding.
blood pressure 80/50. Ezra? Ezra, can you hear me?
What software are you using? The drone mapping?
Kite Tech. Clarissa's recommendation.
Better not slag it off then. How'd you get into this AAIB business?
I was a pilot on commercial airlines, then studied aeronautical engineering. Clarissa came and gave a lecture on aviation forensics.
Did she not? Any joy with the blueprints, by the way?
Nothing. I'll check our crew again for you. It may be one of them.
Stepping on the wreckage? Why would they do that?
Well, I've asked. Nobody's owning up to it. Even when I pull the screws on them.
Hi.
Hi. Miriam Heller, Jonathan Croft. We've ID'd body parts as well as we can at this stage.
Dental records?
Got Miriam's, and we're waiting for Washington to send over Croft's. There's a vertical laceration over the frontal bone, distal radius fractured on both arms, obviously displaced. So I think high-impact trauma rather than heat damage.
What, some sort of reflex action? She puts her hands out when the plane goes into a dive? Clarissa.
Hi, I wanted to let you know that counter-terrorism are gathering prints and DNA from ground crew for elimination jacks on it. Dutch police are doing the same thing their end. I'm working on Ezra's phone.
Okay, great. Anything else, let me know, yeah?
Okay.
Thanks, bye.
I thought maybe I should identify Jonathan's body. I could come tomorrow.
Surely the embassy can take care of that.
Louise.
We're receiving reports of a business jet coming down in Woodland a couple of miles east of Ashwood Airport. Emergency services have been on the scene since first light, and we're still waiting for more news on the crew and the 3 passengers on board. One of whom we've been informed is a child. More on that when we have it.
So the plane comes down, nose high, hits the top of the trees there, and as it hits the ground, the rear fuselage breaks away with Ezra inside. The impact causes these deep furrows. Then what? This section breaks away. There's aviation fuel everywhere. The ATC radar shows it in a steep dive before it disappeared. But there must have been an attempt to pull the nose up because the tail of the aircraft hit the ground first.
The rest of the aircraft slams into the ground. It slides another 50 meters further west. The front of the aircraft separates and rolls further forward. The plane comes to rest in 3 distinct sections: a cockpit, passenger cabin, and a rear fuselage. The rest of it in woodland on the east side of the debris field.
And the flames?
Fuel tanks, ignited by sparks from the fuselage and the wings, most probably.
Or explosives or incendiaries. The flight data recorder should help with that.
Absolutely, we're still trying to download that.
We've seen no evidence of blast damage. It all seems consistent with ground impact and fire.
So, possibly not a deliberate act, is that what we're saying? Some instrument mechanical malfunction? An accident?
All to be investigated further, but that's the initial picture.
Pilot Alex Vatanen, Caucasian male, age 32, soft tissue loss over both shoulders and clavicles, query seatbelt abrasions. Considerable trauma to the left side of the head and neck, blunt force trauma to the torso, patterned abrasion on the chest. Might represent the steering yoke.
From the position of the body, bodies, we think Ezra would have been at the back left-hand side of the plane or in the toilet when the plane went down.
Dad! Mom's hurt!
Jonathan Kraft would have been somewhere here.
Mama!
Miriam Heller.
I don't think she's okay.
And obviously Alex Vitanen.
So where was the non-flying guy?
Rowan Cole.
Rowan Cole.
The child's seatbelt unfastened, is that right?
Yes.
Or did he leave his seat for some reason?
Well, possibly.
Dad! Help us!
Maybe. When the nose came sharply up before impact, he would have been thrown against the floor and backwards to the tail of the aircraft.
Air traffic control says that after the initial dive, it leveled out for 60 seconds.
Really?
Went into a dive again. An attempt was made to pull up at 1,000 feet, but by then it was too late to rescue the aircraft.
Was autopilot ever engaged?
We'll see. The flight data recorder should tell us.
Hiya. Anything?
No obvious signs of a natural cause of death that would have led to the crash. Looks like something got spilt on his hands and clothing. Maybe coffee or tea?
You find any cups on the flight deck?
I'll check the AAIB records, see what they've catalogued.
Hi.
I've got another body, not directly related to this, but...
Does it have to be now? We've kind of got our work cut out here.
Of course, I'm just flagging it up.
Because...
Commander Reed is asking for you, specifically.
Okay, text me the address. I'm on my way. You okay to hold the fort for an hour or so? I'm needed elsewhere.
Sure.
Peter Sachs.
First impressions, he's tilted his head back, shot himself through the roof of the mouth.
My wife didn't see it coming at all.
Wow. Was she here when he did this?
No, she was up in town for the whole day. Came back and found him.
You do realise, right? Any pathologist could have handled this.
Thomas, will you come with me for a sec? So there are a couple of possible connections to the air crash. We found this in Peter Sachs's browser history. This group have endorsed far-right terrorism. Miriam Heller and Jonathan Kraft both received death threats.
From this organisation?
We're not sure. It could be a coincidence, except for this. Peter Sachs was tracking the flight Juno 537, and he was tracking it in real time.
Wow.
Obviously, we need to check it out, but we want to keep it under wraps until we know more.
Okay, I'm with you now. Just the one shot, I think. I'll confirm that or otherwise in post-mortem.
Well, we found a single bullet passed through his head and into the wall.
The weapon?
1980s handgun. Don't know where we got it from. The serial number's been scratched off.
Check for gunshot residue. Right or left-handed, do we know?
Check with the wife.
And his wedding ring. Where's that?
Right-handed, yeah. Is that relevant?
I think at this stage...
Yes. Anything might be relevant.
So I was at work and I got back and he'd locked the garage door and the door from the kitchen through to there, and he'd put a note on it saying not to come in but to call the police.
Siobhan, had he been low in the past?
And he got better. But then when it came back this time, the melancholy, we called it melancholy to try and take the sting out of it. It was like he needed to get me to love him for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And what caused this melancholy? Was there a reason for it?
His mother, I mean, it's all on file, but I suppose, put simply, you'd say she was abusive. So he struggled to make relationships with women, and when he did, he said he felt trapped.
By you? By your marriage? I'm sorry to ask.
I mean, I'm not like his mother, and I think he had an affair a couple of years ago. He wanted to hurt himself back then, and I think that was his way of doing it.
But you worked it out?
Yeah. We did. Yeah, we got to the heart of it. I thought.
Do you mind me asking, did he always wear a wedding ring?
Had he taken it off? He'd taken it off.
Peter Sachs, presumed suicide. Face and head. Exit wound to the upper occipital region. Ragged edging. Bruising to the lips. Radial tears are in the mouth. We have multiple parallel linear scarring to both inner thighs, more pronounced on the left. Appearances of differing ages. Some scars deep enough to have been sutured. Top of the left arm also. Deliberate, consistent with self-harm. Minimal back spatter to the dominant hand. Yeah, and to the left hand too. Not unusual. Fresh scarring on the inside of the left wrist. Like a smiley shape. 2 eyes and an upturned mouth, branded into the skin.
Non-flying pilot, Rowan Cole, aged 52. Multiple injuries, lacerations and extensive bruising to the torso and the head. No marks of external damage to the neck or shoulders. No seatbelt abrasions, unlike the pilot Alex Vatanen. Right leg, traumatic amputation below the knee. No signs of explosive damage to the body. Right hand, fractured thumb and wrist, tears to the palms, same on the left hand. We have marks here, burns, 2 eyes and a smiley face, I think made by a cigarette lighter held to the skin.
Really? I found the same marks on the suicide victim, Peter Sachs.
D.I. Rosen?
Hi, it's Thomas Chamberlain. Look, I thought you should know both Peter Sachs and the non-flying pilot, Rowan Cole, have identical cigarette lighter burns to the inside of their left wrists.
So not a coincidence, then?
It would be extraordinary if it was. I don't know what it means, but it's another connection between them. Do you think they knew each other?
Not that we're aware of. There's nothing concrete to confirm that.
Maybe there is now.
going on?
Louise can't face coming over here on her own. Charlie's flying to Washington to be with her, so she's asked me to identify Jonathan's body.
Matt.
It's what I'd like to do.
No.
I promise I would.
And I said no. This isn't going to be a straightforward ID. We're going to have to rely on dental records and DNA. It's not for anybody who loved him. Come on. Let's get out of here. I'll get my stuff.
If it wasn't for Jonathan bringing me over here to run the embassy, you and I never would have met.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, my friend. God, this sort of thing kind of brings up some stuff, huh?
Hey, what?
You know, the conference in Amsterdam. Jonathan was talking about Syria. And we were there for a couple of years. 2016. On a diplomatic assignment. Because I know a lot about Syria. And, that's why I was...
Why you were...
Let's go somewhere else, no? I wanna go somewhere else, let's go.
What else have you got?
London Air Traffic Control tried to communicate with the aircraft, but there was no response.
Is this after the aircraft's initial dive or before?
Before. There was no response from Alex Vatanen. So my question is there anything from his post-mortem that could explain that?
We're still waiting on toxicology, but so far, no.
What about the Peter Sachs case? Clarissa, anything on that gun?
The exhibits officer is processing it. Paperwork, eh?
But they're corrupted. Except... So, where was the non-flying pilot during that? Flight deck?
Alex Vatanen had seat harness burns, shoulder and collarbones, but Rowan Cole didn't.
So Cole was what, on the flight deck but not buckled in, or back in the passenger cabin?
Is his voice on the cockpit voice recorder?
No, nor Alex Vatanen's. Not for the last 22 minutes of the flight. Here, this is what it picked up.
Everything all right? Hey!
Juno 537 London
toxicology on the coffee. The results, there's caffeine. And this is what's really important. Benzodiazepam.
Wow.
Okay.
I don't understand.
It's a class of drug used to treat a variety of conditions, including seizures.
And anxiety. What's safe as blood to ring in? Yes, it was present in his blood sample. 0.3 milligrams per litre. That's enough to sedate him, maybe even knock him out.
Okay, thank you. Alex Vatanen's not registered with the GP in the UK, and his doctor in Finland has no record of him being prescribed anything regularly. Never a benzodiazepine.
You can buy them on the street easily enough.
He was anxious, they bought meds on the street to treat it.
They wouldn't show up on his medical records that way.
And what? He took them on the flight and got the dosage wrong?
Maybe. All we can say for sure is that he took enough medication to knock himself out, whether by accident or design. Sorry. Hey. How are you feeling?
I have to go back to Washington.
When?
Today. My flight's in 4 hours.
Really?
Yeah, I don't want to, but I have to.
Are you okay?
Yeah? Oh, my taxi's here, though. I better go. I'll call you when I land.
These came from the galley.
Right, are these the same kind of mugs that the pilot Alex drank from on the flight deck?
Yes.
Okay. And he didn't leave the flight deck. Are we 100% sure of that?
There's nothing on the CVR to suggest it. And autopilot wasn't engaged at any time. And Rowan Cole wasn't cleared to fly this trip, so yeah, Alex would have had to stay on deck.
Now then, the coffee. That was stored somewhere in the passenger cabin, wasn't it?
No, the cups and mugs and coffee are all stored in the galley at the rear of the aircraft.
I see.
Before we talk about moving people back in numbers, or...
If we can get other countries to do that, and that's a big if, there's this massive tussle between what's politically expedient and
what's morally right.
Absolutely.
So you want to come see the flight deck?
Kind of.
Right. What if Rowan Cole laced the drink, closed and locked the door of the flight deck, just him and Alex in there, and one drugged coffee? Now, why would a man do that?
Right.
Hi, Mum.
Where you been?
You know where we've been.
Been worried out my mind.
Don't do this again. Every time.
Go to your room, darling.
Everything I do, you know, I was just taking her climbing.
Not till this time. Just pick up the phone. That's all you gotta do.
Can't even walk in my own house about all this.
Just pick up the phone, Kyle. Communicate. Go to your room.
It's all right, darling. Listen to your mum. Go to your room. Say it. Say it's my fault. Say it. Tommy's not here anymore and he's never coming back. His dad's responsible, yeah? That's what you think? You don't even trust me with her anymore. 10 minutes later, you're already pulling out your hair. What do you think I'm gonna do? Huh? Because I'm a killer, is that what you think? Go on, say it. Is that what you think?
Yes. That's what I think. It's exactly what I think.
You don't know how right you are. You don't know the half of what I've done.
What are you talking about?
You don't want me here, do you? Just be honest, Kate. You might as well carry on.
All right. Do I want you here? Not like this. No.
Right. Then I'll go. I'll find somewhere else.
What are you looking at, darling?
Nothing, just outside.
Why don't you come downstairs for dinner now? I'm here, all right? That'll be okay.
Please, will you give me a call when you get this? Let me know you're okay.
So none of this can be proved. All we know is that Rowan Cole made coffee. We don't actually know where he was when the plane came down. He might have been on the flight deck, or he might not.
Toxicology has confirmed that neither Alex Vitanen or Rowan Cole were affected by an excess of carbon monoxide or any other toxic gas. And no other victim had benzodiazepine in their system.
So Alex Vitanen could have been in and out of consciousness, lost control of the aircraft, and then wrestled to get it back.
I don't think Alex left the flight deck. But we know the non-flying pilot, Rowan Cole, did, and he brought the coffee with him. So, say for a minute, he spiked the coffee in the kitchen. He goes through with the kid to the flight deck, gives Alex the coffee, then he returns the kid to his seat on his way back, closes and locks the door.
Excuse me, why would he do that?
Because Jonathan Kraft was a far-right target.
Sorry, that was my team. Rowan Cole was seeing a psychotherapist.
I saw reports of the crash online. They didn't mention Rowan's name. He was a private client.
What was he depressed about? This is an ongoing investigation. No need to worry about patient confidentiality. Did something trigger his depression?
No single incident, no. What can I tell you? He lived alone, was never married, never had a partner, no children. He'd spent most of his working life flying around the world, living out of hotels, so he had no roots, nowhere he felt he belonged. And the thing that he did have, his job, was under threat because of his mental health.
He didn't report that. Did you report the state of his mental health to the authorities?
No.
Huh.
I'm not medically trained, so unfortunately they wouldn't take my word for it if I did.
So you don't prescribe medication?
No. It's a psychiatrist.
Did he express suicidal thoughts to you?
Not to me. Rowan was driven more by anger than despair. Mostly at live news updates on his phone that he'd get, just to have something to rail at, something other than what he perceived to be his own inadequacies.
Friends?
No. He was entirely disconnected, isolated. Like I said, news and politics. That was the limit of his regular conversation.
And where would you place him on the political spectrum?
Oh, right-wing. Quite definitely.
Right-wing how? Attila the Hun right-wing? Mussolini right-wing?
There's nothing to be flippant about.
I am not being flippant.
No. I mean, some men men don't have clear societal roles anymore. They feel that they're no longer listened to, which leads them sometimes into extreme associations or extreme behavior. That anger has to go somewhere. Sometimes it's directed inwards, an impulse to self-destruct. At other times, they look for others like them.
They look outwards. Online, maybe?
Yes.
Did Rowan Cole do that? Did he look for others online?
I believe so. From the things that he said, groups he associated with, yes. Men like Rowan can be easy prey for extremists. They're the rallying point for that anger. They stoke it and give it direction.
That anger, specifically in terms of Rowan Cole and your sessions with him, that anger was aimed at politicians?
Yes.
You okay? You look knackered.
We were out late.
That's not like you.
That's struggling a bit.
Jonathan.
Yeah. I can't seem to help him.
Alprazolam. Type of benzodiazepine in the coffee Alex Vitana drank. It's alprazolam.
Rowan Cole, let's see. Browser history deleted.
Should we check out the Slack space? We've managed to recover some of Rowan Cole's browsing history.
Sorry. Hey, where are you?
I haven't been completely honest with you.
About what? Not honest how?
I don't know, I just feel like I'm in the way.
What are you talking about?
You know, our thing is supposed to be fun and easy. I don't know, maybe I need some time to myself. I need some time to think of.
Look, I understand you're upset, but please don't take this out on me, on us. That's not fair.
I'll call you when I get home.
What do you mean? Are you...
They're boarding the plane. I have to go. I'll call you when I get home.
Matt?
Hi, this is Matt. I can't get to the phone. Please leave a message.
So we have a drugged pilot and a second pilot suspected of spiking his coffee. After which he takes control of the aircraft in order to murder a former US ambassador.
I don't know.
Plus we have online activity linking the two events and matching burns deliberately administered to both Sachs and Cole's bodies.
Okay, but there's this too. I think this is massively significant. It's also from Rowan Cole's search history, somewhere he spent a lot of time. It's a chat room for people who struggle with suicidal thoughts.
How many people are on here?
Looks like about a dozen regulars who come and go. They talk about wanting to end their lives.
Not using their real names. Cole's posting as Ridley 33.
So these are all handled.
Manfred 068.
Yeah, Manfred is a frequent poster. It is not seen as insane when a fighter, under an attack that will inevitably lead to his death, chooses to take his own life. How is it any different when you are under attack by your own mind?
So he's not just supporting them, he's actually encouraging them to take their own lives.
Desperate men looking for someone to trust, and he's preying on them.
Can we scroll back to the conversations before the plane came down?
Sure.
Yeah, around here. It's Rowan Cole. I want to knock myself out and let my aircraft take me.
Do it. Stop hurting with you.
This is incitement to suicide.
Can't the police stop it? Just shut it down.
We shut one site down and another one pops up. And the online filters just can't catch everything.
And if you close this chat room, that's it. We'll never be able to trace them, and we need to track this guy down.
So who is Manfred?
More details have emerged of the passengers aboard the Juno Airlines flight which crashed near Ashwood Airport. One of them, Jonathan Kraft, was the US ambassador to the UK during the time of President Obama. He and his fellow passenger, Miriam Heller, were both killed. The third passenger, Mrs. Heller's 11-year-old son, is in hospital. His condition is said to be critical.
You think it's a good thing he killed himself? Please, please.
Manfred